Hello, everybody, and today we're not doing we're not doing Camp Buddy today. We're doing our life beginnings and always. We received I received a new moment episode through through their Patreon. Uh, it's they released it early for people who are that that are on their Patreon that contributed to their Patreon, of course. So yeah, I received it, and if you're wondering about this um, these moments, the last one, the in between moment, and this new one, those should come out once step 4 comes out. It'll come along with the step 4. So just to let you know. Anyway, before we get started, I just want to thank all. I have 55 subscribers now, so I want to thank all 55 subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Um, if you really want to show your appreciation for what I do for you making these videos, I would really appreciate it if you could go to my Patreon account and become a Patreon contributor. Again, all the funds or money that goes in there goes directly to worthy charity. So you would be doing good for the community of charities that really need the money. And I would really appreciate that too. And of course, at the end of each video, as long as you're a Patreon contributor, I will acknowledge you at the end of each video. I'll name my contributors. So just to show appreciation for being a contributor, of course. Also, I have decided that since I put a lot of effort into recording the uncensored parts of any of the videos that I record, such as Camp Buddy, or if like an episode of Our Life Beginnings and Always, there's an if there's an uncensored one. So far, there's only been one, and that was actually a bonus moment. You can only get the bonus moment through their Patreon, of course, as long as you're a Patreon contributor on their Patreon. Not my Patreon, but their BB. I think it's GB Patch. Yeah, GB Patch Games. They have it to where you can get the bonus moment through their Patreon. You just have to look it up, and you can download it. I was able to download an early version of it, the in between moment, and this moment that I have now that I'm going to be doing for you guys. But don't worry about that. I mean, if you want to get it early, that's great. As long as you're on their Patreon contributor to their Patreon, you can get it now early, or you could just wait until the actual step 4 comes out, and the last moment that I recorded, which was the in between moment, and the one I'm going to be doing now. There's not a title for this, so we're just going to call it the next day. We're just going to call it the next day, since there's not a name for it. And it's kind of like a prelude or an opening to step 4, of course. So, as I was saying, if you want to get a copy of any uncensored videos from the past, like either from my Camp Buddy recordings or off of the bonus moment that I did for our life, then you must be you must become a $25 Patreon contributor. You must be on the $25 tier, of course. I'm only offering that to the people that are on the $25 tier. Originally, the $25 tier is for adult content anyway. So, and because of all the effort and time and effort I put into making these videos, like I said, I think it's a good deal. So if you want a copy, you must be a contributor on my Patreon on the $25 tier, of course. Just to let you know ahead of time. Yeah, I'm not going to be doing any more. I'm not going to be saying any more free copies because, I mean, I do. It takes a lot of my time and effort to make these videos. So I think it's a good, fair thing to do to offer it on the $25 tier to those who are on the $25 tier, of course. So, that being said, we're going to get into this moment. I've already I previewed this moment on my laptop. I do all my recording in the bedroom, which is desktop. It's actually my partner's desktop, but I use it when he's not at home mostly, and because it's great for recording and stuff like that. So yeah. So anyway, let's get started. I'm gonna grab some water. So we're gonna call this episode or memory or moment. We'll call this moment the day after or next. We'll call it next day. We'll just call it next day. So this is that after the in between moment. Your eyes gently opened to see a dim, unfamiliar ceiling. You recalled you were where a hotel room. Oh, you recalled where you were a hotel room. Okay. Yawning, your muscles felt relaxed and warm enough to sleep. Threatened to pull you under again. Morning. Ko's voice brought you back to consciousness. The heat made sense now. You knew the comfortable weight against you was your boyfriend. His arm draped around you, and his fingers lightly drawing shapes on your pajamas. You twisted over to face him fully. Morning, sleepyhead. Cove raised an eyebrow. His index finger drew a question mark across your back, pulling a jingle out of you. Oh, a giggle out of you. Excuse me. You know what I meant. Have you been up long? You hooked your heel around his calf and trailed up to the space behind his knee. He hummed contentedly. Not too long. Let's see. What do I pick here? You gently kissed him. His eyes half lighted. You reached forward and covered Cole's lips with your You exhaled slowly through your nose and parted for only a fraction to take air in. Cove cupped your cheek delicately and leaned his forehead into yours. He brushed your skin with his thumb before pressing into a new kiss. Neither of you were making any moves to get up actually start the day. It was sweet and comfortable to be wrapped up in Cove. You could indulge just a little longer. Sorry about the sniffles. Allergies. Eventually, enough time flew by that there really weren't any minutes to spare. There were too many people waiting, so you both crawled out of the sheets together. I got some junk in my eye. Ugh. Standing up, Cove took a few seconds to stretch. He glanced over at you with an animated expression. I'm really looking forward to your mom's anniversary dinner tonight. It's gonna be fun. I think so too.
I mean,
This whole trip is great, actually. Being here with everybody is like having another chance at being a kid. We can do all the stuff we used to and all the things we never did but wanted to. Okay. What do I pick here? I think this one. Sunset Bird won't know what hit it. Cole's mouth curled into a bent smile. He tossed a pillow at you, and you caught it. Should I be worried about getting thrown out of town, or worse? Worse? Scolded. Laughing, you squeezed the pillow against your chest. You shook your head. That can't stop us now. Well, we better get back into it, huh? We've got plenty full schedule ahead of us for your mom's big day. You smirked. So much for being a kid. So many responsibilities. I didn't think seeing our friends really counts as responsibilities, Chippy. Fine. You got me there. Ugh. After that, you and Cove moved around each other, busily getting dressed and ready for the day. Light laughter and chatter filled the air the entire time. Bags were packed and phones were sought after. Mm. I think this one. You slapped Cole's butt as he stepped past you. Cove let out a small yelp. You met his eyes with an impish, uh, impish grin, and he shook his head.
Oh,
Careful. His shyness melted away as he put himself inches from you. I might have to do something to return the favor. You raised your hands playfully, surrender. His eyes bent into a pleased smile. Well, you could have done the same thing. Could have returned it. Smack on my booty too, if you wanted to. Okay. There was nothing else stopping either of you now. In minutes, you were hopping into your ride and heading back to the neighborhood. It was another beautiful day in Sunset Bird. You couldn't resist rolling the window down so you could absorb it all during the drive. Cole sat across the seat from you, near the opposite window. His gaze was locked outside, catching all the old landmarks the vehicle was passing. Your spirits rose even higher the moment you made it home once more. Eager, you popped out of the car and let yourself inside. Your moms knew you were going to be there that morning. But the second you made it past the threshold, an excited scream nearly scared you out of your shoes.
Hi!
Chippy, you're here. And guess what? I'm here too. Ah, it's Lee. Our cousin Lee. While your heart rate settled, a broad grin quickly took over your whole face. Since your cousin moved out on her own, you noticed that she really found her own groove. She was still the same loving person you'd always been on the inside, but she expressed herself in new ways. Lee was strong, kind, and smart. Over the past few years, she graduated college with a degree in history. Though last you heard, she was pursuing her dreams, working towards getting into the music industry. Hmm. Lee. Instead, you shouted just as loud as she did. Lee hugged you tightly, nearly knocking you off your feet. Lee leaned to the side to glance past you and meet Cove's eyes. Cove's eye. The grin on her face widened while she waved. Hi, Cove. Hey, nice to see you, Lee. I got in practically at dawn. It was a whole thing, but at least I made it here alive. Lee exhaled and slumped her shoulders to emphasize how exhausting the ordeal was. Behind her, Liz made her way over. She crossed her arms at the scene. I'm here too, in case you were wondering. We already knew that. You shook your head. Your lip twitched, but you fought against it. Liz's gaze narrowed. Scrutiny you? I don't know. You miss me at all? I already said that in the last moment. At that, you gave her a toothy grin. Lee cupped a hand over her mouth to muffle a giggle. Another friendly shout rang out in the living room. It was as cheery as it ever was from the many times you'd heard it over the years. Good morning, family. Your parents both came out from the side hall together. Morning.
Well?
Now that everyone is here, I do have a little something to mention. Mom put her hand lovingly over her wife's. Mom leaned her head into Ma's with matching affection. We're all still having dinner together, but Pam here actually made plans to take me out to brunch to celebrate our anniversary. Just the two of us. Please, she looked an arm. She hooked an arm around Ma's waist.
Sorry.
Sorry to push you out, but I'm sure this group of mature grown-ups will still be able to entertain themselves for an afternoon. We don't need to find a babysitter or anything.
Totally.
Yeah, no kidding. We're adults now. Come on, really? Yeah. Have fun, moms. Don't worry about it. Understood. We'll tell you all about our shenanigans at dinner. This works out, actually. An afternoon open means there's time to meet up with Terry and Randy. Hopefully, they're free today. Your two school friends still lived around the area. They knew you were coming for your mom's party, but when or how you might arrange to see each other wasn't set in stone.
Sounds good.
Definitely, we should call them.
All right.
I have some people I'd like to say hi to as well. Liz had her cell phone in hand, ready to get her plans made before she was even done speaking. Arching an elbow, she then directed the next part at Lee. Would you want to come along? We've missed out on a lot of cousin bonding time in the past.
Yeah!
I'd love to. It would be an honor to hang out with you, Liz. Let's see. I hope you both have fun. Don't worry, fun is my specialty. Chuckling, Liz smirked. We'll try not to have all the fun. Don't get into too much trouble. You shook your head, and Liz winked. She then glanced back at her phone and rapidly typed a new text. Excellent. It's settled. She squeezed her wife's hand. Her gaze took in the whole room, ecstatic to have the house full again. Today is going to be perfect.
Yes.
I think so too. I truly can't be happier with my wife, my children, and our whole beautiful family. It's already a wonderful anniversary. I think while I'm at it, I might as well call it the next day anniversary day. Yeah, call it that. There were awes and sweet comments from the group gathered around the couple of the hour. Seeing how your moms were, you couldn't help but that when you got to be their age that you could be proud of your life as them. But Ma's attention then fell on you, and the look on her face twisted mischievously. A shiver shot down your spine. This is a very good time of year for marriage, don't you think so? With Snickers, all eyes eagerly slid over to you and Cove. Shook at her implication, his cheeks burned red. There was no messing the meaning on Ma's words. She was clear as a bell, and she knew it. Okay. I think I'm going to go with the second one. You wondered if Cove agreed with Ma's words. You'd been hopefully waiting for him to ask. Or more likely, we might be the ones that have to ask. Who knows? We'll see. But you stared straight ahead, trying to conceal the marriage thoughts spinning in your head. The last thing you wanted was to pressure him into acting before he was ready. Exactly. You caught Cove shyly rubbing at the slight scar that was still visible on his arm. His stuttering never quite reached the full sentences. It instead turned into silence. Cove's brain was shutting down. Ma had sympathy for him.
There.
You don't have to say anything. It's just a little thing to ponder. At that, Cove's mouth snapped shut with a stiff nod. He quickly glanced at you. If it was only two of you here, you got the impression he would have had something to say. For now, a meaningful look was all there was. Right then, let's get back to what we were doing. After that, you enthusiastically began setting up plans to meet up with your friends. They were both able to come see you, having kept their schedules free for this, and you couldn't wait. Cove was also speedily sending text messages since you conveyed the plans to Terry and Randy. You imagined that he was letting his parents know about what he was going to be up to. The group continued to chat and catch up until it was time for your mom's brunch and your big meetup with your friends. Soon enough, everyone was out the door looking forward to their fun-filled afternoons and the dinner later that night. Once outside on the neighborhood street, you looked to Cove. He stood at your side with a bent smile. Terry and Randy were driving into town while you and Cove were traveling on foot to meet them at an easier to reach spot. Man, we really are kids in Sunset Bird again, having to rely on other people who actually have cars to really get anywhere. Now we're stuck walking to wherever is nearby. Didn't Cove have his dad's old car? What happened to that? I don't know. Oh, well. Okay. I'm gonna go with the second one. United along in agreement. Kicking a pebble with the toe of your shoe, you wondered if your feet would be sore by the end of the day. It had been a while, but your muscle memory could step in. You'd done this walk thousands of times. I'm just glad Terry and Miranda are able to meet up with us. They're worth going the distance. The corner of his mouth bent, and after thought he shrugged. Maybe if we're lucky, they'll drive us home. Maybe. Let's go. You bounced forward several steps and shot Cove a playful look over your shoulder. With that, the two of you begin your trip down the old road. It was a casual stroll into town, and before you knew it, you were at one of the large parking lots in Sunset Bird. It was the one that used to have the little crepe stall. Remembering the delicious smell, you got lost in thought. The store did well enough that it moved into a full-size building a couple years ago now. You'd seen pictures. It was very cute. The parking lot was now just, well, an empty lot that cars could theoretically park in. Not many took the offer. Cove pulled out his phone, texting Terry and Randy in a group chat to let them know you'd made it. Someone must have answered already because Cove gave you a status update while still staring at the screen. Randy texted, "I can see you." Oh, really? The blare of a car horn cut you off. You and Cove both turned towards the source of the noise. One of the windows rolled down.
Hey, buddies.
Your friends had arrived, making a spectacle out of it, as expected. Being the only car meant that they got the pick of the lot, so they pulled to a stop in front of you. The window closed back up, and instead the two front doors popped open. Terry and Miranda stepped out to the pavement. "Hi, Cove." "Hi, Chippy." With a cheery wave, Miranda skipped towards you. Terry, on the other hand, walked speedily over to Cove, squeezing him into a hug. A quiet laugh escaped Cove, along with the majority of the air in his lungs. He didn't fight the constriction? Yeah, okay. But instead gave Terry's back a pat with a large grin spreading across his face. When he let Cove go, Terry came right up to you. He held his fist up for you to bump it. You hugged him instead. Sidestepping his fist, you wrapped Terry into a big hug. He held you back tightly, rocking you back and forth excitedly. It felt so nice to have your friends group reunited as adults. Terry was currently a full-time lifeguard down at the busier beach a town over. You were proud of him. He'd helped a lot of people in his line of work. Miranda took Cove's hand and one of yours in her other. Her eyes all right. She gave you both a gentle squeeze.
So great.
I'm so happy to see you again. Hey, Terry. Hi, Miranda. He answered assuredly. It was clear that he was equally glad to see them. This reunion was long awaited. For a while, Miranda had been working hard as an assistant at a school while continuing her own education. She also kept busy running a small online shop, selling crafted knickknacks she made. I missed you. Miranda's expression softened. She gave your hand another squeeze. I missed you too, a ton. Miranda's released. Miranda released your hands. Giggling, she eyed you both carefully. So, how have you been?
It's nice.
Things have been nice. Everything is perfect.
That's cool.
I can tell you're sparkling. Standing up straighter, you felt a surge of pride for yourself. You were really happy with where you were in life and where the trajectory seemed like it was taking you. I'm really glad for you. What about you? I'm super. Terry sided up next to Miranda and put his arm around her shoulder, sighing dreamily. Randy chuckled up at her boyfriend. Yeah, things have been unbelievable. He pressed his cheek against Miranda's, and she let out a light squeak. The sight put an amused grin on your face. Your friends made a wonderful couple. They knew each other well and cared about each other so much. It was no shock at all when you heard the news that they'd started dating. The corner of your mouth curled painfully while you took in the warm welcomes all around. At times it was still kind of funny how your group of friends evolved into two couples. Not that you were complaining about it. You thought it was an amazing thing. Cove then pulled his phone out and peeked at the screen. He repeated the motion every so often. You raised a curious eyebrow at his casual behavior. Cove was too focused on whatever he was doing to even notice you noticing him, which was even stranger.
So,
Is there anything either of you want to do while we're here? Any place you want to see? I'd be up for a lot of things, but actually, there is something that I want to do right here. Oh, yeah, what's that? Terry poked at Cove's arm playfully. Miranda met your eye, slightly asking if you had any idea what Cove was talking about. You shrugged. I just want to see my friends. Huh? Cove, you're already doing that.
Well,
True, but I could be doing it even more. Terry, and Miranda all turned to Cove with identical incredulous expressions. His stare moved to a point past you three, and you heard the scrape of sand and gravel underfoot. Someone else stepped into the parking lot. Startled, you jumped at the call of the warm voice shouting over.
Sup, guys and gals?
Oh, Derek is here. He's looking big and handsome. Of course, we all know he was coming back in the step 4 anyway. Pretty much. And sometime, I guess, when either about the same time step 4 comes out or sometime after step 4 comes out, they will have the DLCs for Derek and for Baxter so that you can get to be with either one of them as a couple, possibly. Yeah. Running a hand through his hair, the person who crossed the lot was unmistakably Derek Suarez. He was beaming the whole way. It's been too long, even though it wasn't actually been that long, but long enough. You ran over and hugged him. He was comforting and solid, but he was also big enough that it was hard to fit him into your arms. You could feel the rumble of his laughter against your cheek. Derek held you in return.
I missed you.
He spoke to you gently. You were thrilled just being there, reunited with him. Dyke was a good friend of yours, and he had been for a long time. Hey. He waved over at Terry and Miranda pleasantly. Over the years, they all had met several times in passing, simply through being friends with the same people. Sup, big man? Hi, it's great you could come. Cove put himself next to Derek. Happily, he clapped a hand on his friend's shoulder. Hi, thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Of course, thanks for inviting me. Sheepishly, Cove looked back at you and the others. That's when it clicked in your mind. It wasn't his parents that he was texting earlier. It was Derek the entire time. Derek is in town for a few months to help my dad and his dad with some work. Yep, I'm working on my own business thing too, but I'm still involved with running the school shop when it's called for.
Very nifty.
Humming Derek elbowed Cove.
So?
But hey, we didn't have to stand around here for my sake. It's what's the plan? Let's hit the town. Eager to get going, everyone pulled into Terry's car. The rest of the afternoon was spent visiting spots all over Sunset Bird, laughing and reminiscing the whole way. Once it started to get late, Terry brought you and Cove back to the neighborhood. You didn't have to walk there after all. You didn't get out until promises were made to see each other again before your trip ended. Side by side, you and Cove stood in the street and waved at the car as it drove away. Terry tapped the horn for two honks while Miranda stuck her hand out the window to wave back. You caught Derek in the back window, giving you both a wide grin. Sighing as soon as the car turned down another street, they were falling out of sight. Well, that was one party. Time for another. Ready to go see your moms? Of course. It's far too early to hop off the party train. Cove raised his eyebrows before letting out a hearty laugh. He nodded in the direction of the house.
Come on.
Lead the way, conductor. Choo choo. Spirits high, you and Cove crossed the distance of your house. It was almost time for the anniversary dinner. You barely stepped over the threshold of the condo before Ma descended, eagerly welcoming you both. The usual greetings were followed by questions on everyone's well-being, after which the conversation moved on to excited chatter about tonight's dinner plans. Cove excused himself to the restroom to freshen up before being on the move again. Damn, honey. Looking very handsome here, aren't we? You can see some of his chest, too. Damn. But when he returned, you were shocked to see he had entirely changed outfits. Where did that come from? I packed it with me so I could get dressed before the dinner without having to go back to the hotel. Didn't you? Or maybe you have stuff still here at your mom's place. Cove, I hate to break it to you, but no, I definitely didn't do something crazy like that.
Huh.
But your mom's party, it's at the country club. Yeah, and so are middle-aged folks in Hawaiian shirts. What's your point? This isn't like those summer soirees where they were having a real party. We're only going for a regular meal. Cove was befuddled by your explanation. As you were with his actions, he threw his arms up, desperate for understanding.
Seriously?
How can you not dress nicely for a country club? I didn't think the Cypress is as special as you've decided it is. You saw Ma. She wasn't in formal clothes, and she's one of the guests of honor. You released you reali- yeah, okay. You realized that whatever you want whenever you went to the country club on a normal day, it was family time with just you, Liz, and your moms. Each time Cove came, there had been more exciting things going on. You never would have thought of that before, but his perspective suddenly made a lot more sense. His frown wobbled, and his cheeks became far pinker. He looked down at his own self regrettably as he pulled the cuff ends of his shirt. He seemed more like a scolded child than a grown man dressed for the latest charity gala. I thought she was gonna get changed while you and me were. I'm gonna go with the second one. Well, it's okay. You look very nice. Actually, I'd say looks very handsome. That's what I would say. That earned you a sheepish smile, though he still clearly wished his look hadn't garnered any extra attention. Cove's eyes stole a glance at the hall, as if he was calculating if he'd have time for another quick change. Unfortunately for him, it was not meant to be. Time had the time to head out came far quicker than you'd expected. Cliff and Kara swung by the condo to make sure everything was in order, and for your second surprise that night, Cliff was also in formal clothes. Cole's face exceedingly wrapped towards yours at the same time. Cliff went to Kara's. The two men pointed at one another. See, he knows. Exactly. Sort. Exactly, sport. Kara was talking to me like I was crazy. You and her thought alike in terms of Holden boy antics. The aforementioned Kyra placed a hand delicately yet dramatically across her eyes. Clifford, our son, only knows this because you are the one who raised him. Cliff chuckled, his arm moving to scratch at the back of his neck. Yeah, that's my boy. The end of Cole's mouth gently bent up. He truly was his father's kid in more ways than even he realized. They may be the only ones in the group, potentially the only guests at the entire club, all gussied up. But at least they could now take solace in one another. That looked to be good enough for him. Good enough for them. All the Prince family, as well as the honorary members, Cliff, Kara, and Cove, headed out at the same time to Cyprus. It was to be a perfect reunion. An impeccably smart host greeted you on arrival, smoothly leading the way to the set of tables reserved for your group. Once you settled in, chosen drinks were poured into delicate glasses. The food would be coming out later, letting you soak up the atmosphere for a little longer. Smiling, your parents faced the group of familiar faces, all gathered here together to share this special day with them. Mom reached over and took Ma's hand, clasping it between both of hers.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here tonight, gang. Marrying this lady right here is the best thing I've ever done. And there's no one else I'd want to celebrate that with. Yes, we're so lucky not only do we have each other, but we've got such a large and loving family through all of you. Around you, you heard people saying "ah" and chuckling appreciatively at the comment. Lee had clasped her hands tightly in front of her, her eyes shining. Your eyes met Liz's misty eyes and the affirmation she had for her moms carried over to you, too. You return your attention towards the happy couple just as they leaned in to kiss, smiling all the while. The table responded with cheers and clasping shouts of happy anniversary, and the other congratulations continuing even after they'd broken apart. Mom beamed as she watched Ma giggle dreamily. The waiters reappeared, delivering delicious plates of food, and the dinner began in earnest. Both conversation and laughter continued to flow freely as the night went on, with the two families relishing the opportunity to be together once more. Eventually, after your hunger and thirst had been fully satisfied, the plates were cleared and the event began to draw a close. Cliff and Kara exchanged goodbyes with your family before heading out together. As you and Cove would be returning to the place, he said his goodbyes to his parents while hanging back until your family were ready to head off. You are getting a lift back with your moms. It was already late, so you discussed the possibility of going straight to the hotel rather than going back to the condo. But Cove had asked if they'd mind taking him back to the neighborhood. He'd wanted to visit a little longer. Your moms had happily agreed. Liz and Lee were feeling tired, so your moms swung by their hotels during the trip home, while you and Cove made the full journey with them. Riding in the back seat of your mom's car with Cove felt more than a little nostalgic. As your eyes drifted over to him, his head resting on the window, it was hard to believe how much time had passed. Mom stretched as she got out of the car, smiling over her shoulder as she headed towards the house. Time to put my feet up. You two joining us? Cove shook his head. No thanks. It's your anniversary. You don't have to entertain me. I'll take a walk. It's never any trouble to have you over, Cove.
You alright with that?
Let him do as he pleases, Lonnie. But you better not stay out much. You better not stay out too much later, or there'll be trouble. Ma chuckled as Mom wiggled a finger. Her expression exaggerately severe as she repraised a role in that. In truth, she never really played. Neither of your parents had been harsh as you'd grown up. Ma joined in the act. Don't go too wild just because there's no school tomorrow. Laughing, they made their way inside, leaving you standing out there in the dark street with Cove. You didn't even need to ask him why. You already had the answer for this. He wasn't yet ready for the day to end. Without a word, Cove began to stroll down the road. You walked alongside him. You known your destination long before you arrived on the dark and early deserted beach. There were no lights down here, nothing but the moon and the stars for illumination. The only sounds were the gentle waves rolling in and out, and the soft sound of footprints you left in the sand. In other words, it was perfect. Cove stepped out into the waves without a word. He looked up at the sky with a smile, then tucked his head down and began to pull his fancy shirt off. Oh my God. Damn, honey. He tucked it over his head and lobbied it backwards, further up the beach and out of reach of the waves. Oh, excuse me. Didn't know I'd be getting a show. Cove froze, his arm still raised from when he'd thrown his shirt. Slowly he came back to life. Stiffly pulled his arm back down. Your commentary had made him self-conscious. Laughing, you clapped your hands in delight at his awkwardness. Cove slipped his dress pants off and tossed them back in roughly the same direction as his shirt. He was just down to a polka dot boxer briefs. Damn, honey, sexy here, aren't we? Looking good. Sometimes you were really stuck by the ways, in which he was braver than his younger self. This was definitely one of those times. He never ever would have done this when you were both living on the street, but you also know he still wouldn't do it with anyone other than someone he spent all those years with. Let's see. You took off your shirt so that you could swim. Cove waded further into the water until it came up to his chest. You unfastened your clothes and left them behind you, just as Cove had done moments before. You didn't even bother to see where they'd fallen before falling him deeper into the sea. Cove grinned as you approached. I'm gonna be in so much trouble with my moms when we get back.
I guess.
Yeah, oh well. Think fast. He splashed water at you as soon as the words had left his lips, giving you no time to prepare. The splash had caught you full on, leaving you sputtering and drenched. You splashed him back. Seeing what you were doing, Cove put his hands up for protection. It was no use. The water washed over him, leaving his hair soaked through. Cove sighed, then looked at you mournfully. The sudden shift in mood alarmed you, but those worries disappeared as soon as he opened his mouth. We're still not merfolk. The world is cruel. You snickered. After a moment, Cove's mock sadness broke, and he joined in. The two of you mounted up, drifting further down along the shoreline, chatting and enjoying the chance to be back on the beach that had provided the backdrop for so much of your childhood. Eventually, a silhouette of structures appeared up ahead. As you drew closer, you realized it was the old playground. Cove spotted it too and hurried towards it, dragging himself out of the water and heading into the park. Wet sand coated his feet and lower legs with every step, clinging thickly through that it began to resemble a bizarre pair of boots. As you followed him, you wondered how many visitors this little park got these days. There were officially no children living in that neighborhood now. Cove gazed at his surroundings in wide-eyed awe. He didn't care at all that he was soaking wet and dressed only in his underwear. Crouching, he gently pushed one of the child-sized swing seats, marveling at it all.
Wow.
I can't believe how tiny everything is. We seriously small enough to use these? He shook his head, unable to fathom just how little you'd both been when you first met, then walked over to the monkey bars. Once these had been a challenge for you. Now they were little more than waist height next to Cove. Cove turned his back to the bars and hopped up onto them with ease, sitting on them comfortably. You sat on the bars with him. Hi. It was strange seeing an adult Cove juxtaposed with the baby playground, but you took your own place on the structure. This place had been something so exciting to Cove back when he first arrived, and apparently it was to this day. Cove smiled eagerly as you approached, kicking his feet in the air happily, briefly forgetting the low vantage point until the tip of his toe scraped along the ground. He continued to swing his feet, but with a little more carry. You thought it was adorable. In this moment, you were home. It just so happened to be the place you'd grown up. But really, anywhere you could be with Cove was that for you. He had held a special place in your heart for so long, and so much of your life had been shared. You'd grown up on the same street, which had given you some common ground, but it went far beyond that. You had both chosen from a young age to share your life with each other. You wouldn't have it any other way. Here we are again. Looks like it. The mood had shifted now. The funny, impulsive night beach trip with a spike of adrenaline that came from you playing in the water under the moonlight had settled into something quieter and more nostalgic. Cove leaned back, tilting his head towards the sky to admire the stars above. Too bad I wasn't able to bring my surfboard along for this. Cove shrugged dramatically, trying to lift the mood a little. The dinner was really nice. It was great to do all this. The smile he had when he spoke those words fell as quickly as it had appeared. It went by so fast. We all came out here for the party, and it's over. Liz, Lee, our parents, we'll all be going back to our own things now. But what else can you do except say it's okay? I guess it's part of growing up. This place and these people, they're our foundation. It shaped who we are now, like making castles out of sand. I owe a lot to Sunset Bird. His eyes crinkled fondly, and Cole's voice was gentle when he spoke again. We had a good childhood, I think. I'll always remember our days here.
Me too.
He shook his head silently, heavily. All right. His smile took an uncharacteristic, harsh twist. You had a feeling where this was going. We better get home before your dumb parents, who don't know anything, get mad. You had to laugh at the half-hearted expression of young Jeremy. The boy you met in this very park. From blood droplets, of course. We all seen that episode. We also got to do a moment from blood droplets too. Well, some parts of it anyway. He chuckled along with you for a moment before tapering off. I hope we don't get grounded. The jokes kept coming. It was very amusing to imagine that not only could your mom somehow ground you as fully grown and independent adult, but that their powers extended over Cove as well. As much as you were enjoying being back here, Cove was right. You had to accept that you needed to go now. It was late and your moms were still expecting to see you both before you got a ride back to the motel. You and Cove hopped down from the bars, landing easily with the ground, only a short distance below. Before you could return, you had some clothes to retrieve from the beach. You rerouted the same path, following the footsteps down to the shore. You'd left in the sand only a little while earlier. Once you and Cove had scoured up your abandoned clothes, you started to walk up the old path home side by side. Droplets of water slipped down your skin and fell into the road as you made your way back to your mom's house. As you and Cove were still soaked and sandy from your earlier adventure, it was likely that you were leaving quite a trail in your wake. But you seen Cove's bedroom growing up. It was only natural for him. The air was slightly humid, already pleasantly dense with moisture that felt like a hug as it closed around you. Any damp footsteps that were left behind would take longer to dry in this weather. The signs of your adventure might even be visible when the sun came up the next day. You hoped so. You quite liked the ideal. You quite like the ideal, and you and Cove leaving your mark on your hometown again, even if only for a little while. Despite being soaked through the and mostly undressed, the balmy summer night prevented you from feeling any chill. You were entirely comfortable. In truth, you felt warm inside and out. The day had been so lovely, spending time with your friends and family, and your eyes drifted over to Cove. Cove Holden, your boyfriend. Just seeing him brought a smile to your face. I love you. Cove turned to you, his eyes wide and adoring, and he bit his lip as he smiled shyly. You could tell that your words had touched him. I feel the same way exactly. He held your gaze a moment longer, looking straight at you as he spoke again.
I love you.
I'll love you forever. You kissed him. Catching him by the hand, you stopped Cove in his tracks and pulled him close to your heart, somersaulted as your lips met. At this moment, with a quiet seaside town at rest, it felt like it was just the two of you in the world. Cove returned the kiss, gently cradling your head with his hand until you broke apart. You were full of joy. All other concerns and the day-to-day stresses of normal life were squeezed out by it. All you could think in that moment was how your life was wonderful. Everything, every second, and every day needed to end sometime, and that time had nearly come for tonight. You had to at least get some rest and bring it all to a close. Ooh. And so the two of you went inside to say goodnight to your moms, as well as clean yourselves up as best as you could. Your moms, both in pajamas or ready for their own sleep, hooted with laughter as you came inside, beblished and damp, and their teasing continued until the car came to get you to the hotel. Cove stayed silent as he put his casual clothes on again, placing the normal ones back in the bag he brought them in. You given Mom and Ma plenty of material for a mock of scolding, and you got a playful lecture about not getting into the water without bothering to change first. You just grinned at your partner in crime, feeling like a naughty kid again. It had been worth it. By the time you and Cove finally dragged yourselves to your hotel room for the night, the sky had been dark for some time, and the lonely hotel hallways were quiet. The late hour made you feel a sense of fulfillment. You really were making the most of your trip. It was such a odd thought that this was almost over. You had settled into this new routine naturally. All the familiar streets and faces made everything easy to get used to. The two of you drowsily shuffled past an ice machine into your room. Cove set his phone on his bedside table, and you followed suit. You both started settling in for the night. The hotel room was a welcome sight after your long day. You noticed Cove rub the back of his neck and yawned. His voice was quiet and distant. I hope the pet sitter is doing good. The wish wasn't exactly directed to you. It was just a sleepy thought that Cove had unleashed upon the world at large, but you still agreed. I hope so. That sitter is watching some of the best animals on the planet. Cove still kept fish after all these years. Delightful, colorful things in huge aquariums. He spent a lot of time when he wanted to relax just watching them swim. Though they weren't just his, the two of you were raising them together in the place you shared. Of course, with you both gone, the fish needed someone to take care of them. Cove asked one of your responsible neighbors to handle the job. You were glad to have a distant pet sitter. Cove wasn't the only one who loved those fish. Cove's anxiety about leaving them hadn't subsided. Over the vacation, you had caught him a few times texting the pet sitter asking about his fish. It'll be okay. Cove turned his head to you, the nervousness still coming off despite his exhaustion. Remember, you gave that pet sitter such an in-depth fish orientation that they knew all of their names. And most of the fish are practically identical. Cove laughed, instantly lighter. You nodded in satisfaction. Mission accomplished. Cove yawned widely. He seemed confused at the magnitude of it. He roundly blinked at you. I think it's time for bed. That is a great thought. Oh, excuse me. You yawned and then raised an eyebrow at Cove for making you catch his. He gave you a little smile, but then ended up yawning again. Just as I was actually for real yawning. I think so too. The two of you got changed and brushed your teeth. In no time at all, both of you were cozy and ready to sleep. After that, you flopped onto your side of the shared bed. Cove headed over to his side, and you felt the mattress dip under his weight. You tucked yourself under the covers and Cove snuggled in closer to the middle. You turned on your side to face him and scooted slightly closer. Your noses almost touched. And Cove watched you with a soft expression on his face. Cove gently spoke his words like a lullaby.
Good night.
Good night, Chippy. You have a good night too. Cove's eyes fluttered shut, and he let out a contented sigh. There was a warmth from Cove's body next to you. He was right there. You see, his presence was alluring. You really wanted your hands around him. No, you really wanted your hands on him. Your hand drifted over to Cove's, and you ran your fingers up his arm, across his shoulder, and finally to his face. Cove trembled at the gesture. You cradled his cheek, and his eyes opened slightly to peek at you, unsure. Are you tired? As nice as it was to be near him, you understood he might not be in the mood. You wouldn't mind if you both just went to sleep instead. Cove mumbled into the hotel blanket.
I mean,
Not anymore. Your eyebrows lifted. He flushed as a growing excitement replaced any previously held plans to rest. You leaned forward and lightly kissed his lips. He pecked you back affectionately. You could feel his smile and his affection. He rolled slightly as that he was fully on his side and had a better range of motion. With the new freedom of his arm, he reached over to stroke the back of your head. When the first kiss ended, you immediately started another, then another. Cove stopped running, his fingers down your hair to hold your head closer. Shoot. Yeah, you kept going. I'm gonna have a little bit of mink out session, but don't worry, there's nothing uncensored to be recorded elsewhere. Let's see. Start with this one. You kissed him deeply. You snagged your arms around Cove. Sneaked your arms around Cove and pulled him as close as you could. You savored the heat of his body against you. You pressed into Cove as long as you could manage before needing air. He responded just as desperately. Okay, what do we do next? You kissed down his neck. You bent over Cove and the covers wrapping around you and kissed all the way across the side of his neck. Cove squirmed under your touch and made a new pleased noise every touch. You nibbled on his ear. You pressed your chest against his and toyed with his earlobe, prepping it with soft little bites. Cove spoke briefly inaudible words against the crook of your neck. You grabbed his butt. You slid your hand down his back, lingering, caressing as you pleased. However, your touch had a purpose and you kept going until you grabbed his butt. A shiver went through him and he gripped your pajamas harder. You smiled at the curve of his lips. Okay. You grabbed onto his shirt. You tucked and pulled at Cove's soft pajamas. It stretched under your fingers. Cove started to run a hand through your hair again. Sweetly, cording through the strands. It was never ending reassurance that he was here and he cared about you. You hooked your legs around him. You tangled your legs across Cove. You needed to get even closer. You twisted his arm around your back and kissed the corner of your mouth. Let's see. And last one. You pressed your foreheads together affectionately. Cove happily looked back at you before he bent his torso so that he was in a position more over you. He kissed you and ran his tongue along the bottom of your lip. You kissed him back eagerly, encouraged further. Cove twisted his head towards his pillow and squished his face into it, letting out a sigh. You smiled and you snuggled up against him, both of you starting to settle from the heated moment. Cole's face remained pressed into the pillow, and you watched his chest raise and fall visibly with his deep inhales, but his arms stayed around you, holding you close. When his breathing slowed, he shifted back over and met your eyes. Cove nuzzled his cheek against you lovingly and whispered, "We really shouldn't stay up all night, huh?" You accepted Cove's judgment. He was right. You both needed sleep for tomorrow. You curled up comfortably in each other's arms, ready to actually settle down for the night. Your eyes felt closed sometime after. You were not sure exactly when, only the fact that they were now too heavily to open. You felt a mixture of bitter and sweet emotions. You were happy to be here, but sad it was ending. There was relief that you would soon be in your own home again, but also wondering when you could return here. There were many more feelings swirling around your head that hadn't even crystallized into thoughts yet. Paradoxically, you felt nice but confused, but then also nice from the confusion. In the back of your mind, you realize that you really must be tired. Personally, your exhaustion did not give you too much time to muse on your emotions. In what felt like seconds, you were already dreaming. The dreams dancing around your head became fragmented and faded in until you couldn't remember a thing about them at all. You were growing more aware of the real world. Cove was gently waking you. You woke up feeling enveloped by warmth. Humming happily, you felt Cole's fingers trail up your arm. You opened your eyes with a smile. Morning. Did you have good dreams? Some, but none were as nice as this actually is. Under the blanket, you reached out and rested a hand on his side. Your thumb lightly brushed the side of his body, and you watched the affectionate look on his eyes grow. You sat up fully with a big yawn, stretching your back, then your arms and lastly your neck before accepting the day. The blanket fell to the side while you swung your legs over the side of the bed. A part of it almost got caught on your foot, but you kicked it off anyway. Cove slipped out of bed on the opposite side. Today would be your last day in Sunset Bird. The only thing you had planned was some family time in the old neighborhood. You figured you'd see where the day took you from there. Yawning again, you glanced over at your clothes. There was just one more day to live out your bag. Live out of your bag, yeah. Okay. Hey Cove, is there anything you'd like to see me in today? No. You'll look nice in whatever you wear. You always do. You knew from the tone of his voice that Cove was sincere, and his praise warmed your chest. Alright, let's get things going. Our families are waiting. Nodding, you and Cove swiftly finished getting ready in the small hotel room. As soon as you had your stuff together and were ready to go, you were off. I'm going to turn my air conditioner back on. It's starting to get warm in here. It was cold there for a little bit, but now it's getting hot again. Alright. During the ride there, you and Cove decided to visit his dad's house first this time. When you got dropped off, Cove eagerly hopped out into the street with his eyes locked on his father's condo. Your gaze fell on your boyfriend. He stood in the middle of the street where you grew up together, while in the summer sun made him shine. Though he was the brightest light in your eyes, no matter what. Yep. And looks like I'm going to have to propose. You knew you had to propose before you left Sunset Bird once more. Your palms started to feel sweaty when there's, but you pushed on ahead. Walking over to Cove, he turned to you and chuckled. What took you so long? And you knew this was it. Hey, Cove. Yeah? He mumbled the answer out of the corner of his mouth. Eyes glued to his father's condo. Would you go to the Poppy Hill with me? Cove moved to the stair directly at you. Mouth dropped onto a tiny frown as he absorbed your suggestion to suddenly change the plan. But once he did see the look in your face, he shook it off any lingering confusion. That smile you loved grew once again.
Of course.
Of course, lead the way. You released breath through closed teeth, pairing that with a nod. To the hill behind your old house you went, just the two of you. It was a journey you were intimately familiar with, but this time was simply not the same. Actually doing it, you felt I'm gonna go with the last one. True happiness. Your decision was natural and you had nothing to worry about. Your strides forward were were enthusiast. I don't know that word. Peppy, as if you were bouncing between tufts of clouds. Imagining what was about to happen was such a joy. You had to stop yourself from picturing too hard, lest you spoil the real deal that was right ahead. Under your feet, tarmac gave way to dirt and sparse tufts of grass, which then translated into a lush field of green and white. The gentle fluttering of petals was your greeting. Poppy Hill, the exact spot where you first met your neighbor over 15 years ago. You shared countless memories here over the years, catching fireflies, watching the clouds, simply talk, simply talk, taking time to just talk to one another. You grew there together, side by side. This small part of the world was extremely linked with Cove in your mind. It was the place where your most important encounter occurred, and you knew it needed to be the place where you asked him that most important question. It was silent. You and Cove faced one another, affection filling the small space between you. He still didn't know why you were doing this, but he transparently didn't care. He was only happy to be there, to be with you. There was a warmth in your chest. You revealed in how much you mattered to him, and now you gathered those emotions for him. You never would have imagined this when you first met your best new playmate, but now as adults, it was the absolute truth. You wanted to be with Cove. It was simple. It was inescapable. You loved Cove. You loved him so deeply. At that moment, you couldn't have been more certain. Every step you'd ever taken in this life was leading you right here. You see, you begin your proposal with action. You picked up a nearby poppy and held it up to Cove while getting on one knee. Your blue eyes shone in the bright light of the day, and you hoped he could see the strength of your love for him as you looked up at him from down on one knee. It all happened in slow motion. His expression of serene affection shifting into quivering awe, eyebrows lifting nearly to his seafoam green hairline, and his mouth stretching out to the limit. But despite Cove's mouth being open, he didn't breathe a word. He was entirely incapable of that, so you voiced your own thoughts. Okay. Since the universe clearly wants us to be together, we should probably make it official already. At that cove crumbled onto the ground, his legs completely giving out underneath him. Bubbling drops of tears flowed down to the grass just as heavily. Chippy. That single word was all he could choke out. But that alone was all the inspiration you needed to continue your open-hearted confession. There was so much more you could express about your relationship, your history, your love for him. I remember the last day of summer vacation 10 years ago when we kissed for the first time. A shaking laugh rebelled through your chest, thinking back on that scene. You could still picture it clearly. You were so flustered. I had no idea what was going to happen or what our parents would do. But whether or not we were official, us being really young then and all that other stuff didn't matter to me. I knew you were special. And with every day that's gone by, the more we've met, the more you've meant to me. I still haven't forgotten how I told my moms I wanted to marry you the second we met. I haven't even really understood what getting married meant when they said that. But now, even 15 years later, all I want is to make that childhood imagination be real. Starting to get choked up a little bit. It's just very emotional. I mean, they would, this story just rings out a lot of emotion, a lot of the stuff in the moment. Not all the moments, but some of the moments really do bring out a lot of emotion. Let's see. I'm gonna go with this one. I can't even imagine not being with you for the rest of our lives. And once more, you asked, will you marry me? The corners of Cole's mouth pulled up as he let every word reach deep into his heart. Still smirking like the sunshine, he parted his lips to answer, but all that came out was a gasp, squeaking sound. Flustered when he tried to push up past that block, he instead got himself into a stuttering coughing fit. Sorry. No need to rush. We've got the rest of our lives for this. Cove instantly reached forward and gripped for your support. He hung his head low, taking in slowly deepening breaths. You didn't mind in any way, shape, or form. You'd wait forever for Cove if it was necessary. Eventually, the trembling in the fingers that were holding you settled out. He was able to lift his head once more to meet your gaze. I will. Despite tears still clinging to his eyes, the words eventually spoken. Cove had complete confidence in this. Chippy, I'd be so grateful to marry you. There's nothing more that I could ever ask for. You'd never understand the term music to your ears better than when you heard the way he laughed so sweetly in that moment. I've thought about this a lot, probably way too often, and now it's real. It's happening. I don't know if I'm even good enough with words to tell you how happy it makes me. You're what's made my life such a wonderful, beautiful, amazing experience. I'm luckier than I have any right to be just now,
I love you.
Thank you for asking me for being mine and letting me be your. I love you. Let's get married. Hey. Hey. Delicately, Cove lifted out an open hand. You started understanding what gesture meant instantly. You tied the poppy into a shape of the ring and put it on Cove. And put that on Cove. You created a makeshift ring and then slipped it into its rightful place on Cove's finger. It was a delicate fit that it wouldn't last. But he had no complaints. His voice thick with emotion, Cove whispered, "It's perfect. I'll keep it always." Oh. His eyes were transfixed on the poppy. He admired it openly before finally lifting his gaze to meet yours. The view of ocean blue held glossy drops of water, and somehow all you could think was that was him, Cove Holland, the man you loved, and now the person you were going to marry. Oh, jeez. Trying to. Oh, it's so easy to get emotional over this. Okay. Let's see. You pulled him into a kiss. You couldn't hold back any longer. Your fingertips skimmed his cheeks for a second, all sweetness. Cove got the hint and pulled you into him. His clothes, as close as he could get, desperate to feel you. Gladly, you kissed your fiancé. He kissed you back lovingly, and you could feel the same. You could feel a smile on his face. The place you met, where you grew, you fell in love, as now the place where your shared life together truly began. Your eyes drifted closed to let yourself experience it, to anchor yourself in this moment and hold on for as long as possible. You, the both of you, never wanted to let go. You were certain of it. The rest of your days would be spent side by side. It was all you'd hoped for. When the swirling excitement of your new engagement relaxed back into the more familiar style of gentle comfort, your relationship brought Cove stood up. He lifted you along with him. A lingering warmth filled the air around you, much more than the normal heat of summer. It was all your own. With a gentle tone, Cove spoke once more. "Let's go see our families." A smile on his face was building. You knew he was excited to tell them the news. You shared that sensation completely. Yeah, they're waiting for us. You arrived back at the doorsteps of the Holden household. Your fiancé put his hand on the doorknob and took a deep breath. It was clear why he hesitated. Once he twisted the doorknob, it would be time to announce that you were going to be married. He stole a glance at you. You tried to stay calm for both your sakes. He nodded with his confidence clearly blustered. Or blasted. Blister, I don't know. Then Cove opened the door. We're here. Together you stepped into the house, hearts beating fast. Cove stopped before even placing his foot back down. There was an unexpected company. You saw your family, not just your moms, but Liz and Lee as well. Along with them, Terry and Miranda were curled up on the couch, and Derek sipped at a glass of water. Surprise! Surprise. Everyone else followed and let out a chorus of surprises. Cove's eyes widened, and he swallowed hard. This wasn't part of the plan. What took you so long?
Yeah.
Did I skip something? Nope, I guess not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so slow pokes. Cove remained almost completely frozen in place, though he did finally place his foot into the ground. Ow, my back. Hey, sport. Chippy, your friends came over for a visit, so I invited them to breakfast.
Any whoosies?
And since we're cooking for a crowd, any whoosies, we decided to ask Pam, Noel, and all over to too. Pretty nice, huh? Well, we've got a surprise for everyone too. Not that surprises were a competition, but you felt that Cove and you were about to win. The groups looked back with expectant smiles. Cove automatically rubbed the faint scar on his arm. Cove has an announcement. Oh. He sputtered a strong string of symbols and then cleared his throat. All false starts. He thought of you could feel his brain turning. Cove deciding the best way to approach this. All eyes of the room turned to him, waiting. I think I'm going to save it right there, just so I have it saved. Because this is eventually going to end, and I don't want to have to go all the way back from and the summer ended just to get to this point, you know. His eyebrows furrowed deep, and then his expression and tone serious. He finally got it out without a trace of hesitation. We're getting married. Chippy and I are engaged. Cove reached over to take your hand and as a physical sign of your union. The room filled with cheers and congratulations. You heard Terry's distinctive whoop and your mom's start to joyfully whisper to each other. Lee squealed and Kara cooed. There was no confusion or need for pause. Everyone in your life was immediately on board with your plans. Cove turned his head and beamed at you, excitement in his smile. It was coupled with a fond squeeze to your hand. You grinned back at him. Suddenly, Cove was almost boiled over by Cliff, throwing his arms around him. Ah. His father compressed him even more tightly as Cove regained his balance.
I'm so glad.
I'm so proud of you, Cove. The two of you are going to be happy, and I'm sure of it. Dad. Cove sniffed sniffled his eyes wide, emotional. Then he hugged his father back just as firmly. Yeah, I will be. Both of us will be. While the two embraced, Kara came up to your side. She put a hand on your shoulder and spoke gently.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so wonderful to my baby. I'm lucky and grateful that you're going to be a part of my life forever. Cliff pulled back and switched to patting the sides of Cove's arms. Well put, Kara. Chippy is a keeper for sure. Kara sidestepped over her son and pinched his cheek. Then she tapped his nose playfully. Cliff gave her space, though continued to keep hold of Cove. Your own parents had now reached you. Then they took hold of one arm of yours each. I can't believe how grown up you are, but I couldn't be happier with how it all happened. Congratulations, Chippy. You are one of the smartest cookies there are. You're making an amazing life for yourself. Liz elbowed her way to the front with Lee, not far behind. Your moms stayed at your sides. Lee squealed in your face, pumping a fist into the air.
Seriously?
This is totally amazing. you're seriously getting married. It's like you're real adults and all that. Yeah, it'll almost be hard to believe that my baby brother is marrying a person. You know, if Cove wasn't such an obvious choice as a husband for you. Her smile turned abnormally soft. You're doing good. Out of the corner of your eye, you noticed Cole's parents release him. He took the opportunity to slide closer to you and nodded at Liz. Thanks for the positive rating.
You're welcome.
Lee giggled, and your mom's had some chuckles. Cove stood awkwardly, not entirely sure if he or Liz was being laughed at. Your three friends had stayed back. You believed that they were intentionally giving your families a chance to have a moment. But once they said their pieces, it didn't take long for your friends to swarm you excitedly. Congratulations on the engagement. It's crazy how we're really at this point of our lives. Some days it feels like high school was yesterday.
So great.
But it's great. You both are definitely Sunset Bird's best couple. Terry nodded eagerly. You are the aspiration. I'm stoked that you're going to be official. This is a big step, but I'd say you've more than earned it with everything you've been through over the years. You both deserve to be with each other for the rest of your lives. Cove had appeared weepingly before, but this sealed it. He cried. Everyone's words had built up and coincided into Cove shedding the happiest tears you'd seen. Thank you. Actually, I'm just going to save it like there, so I don't have to go too far. When I come back to step 4 to get into step 4, of course. Once that comes out, of course. Let's see. Group hug. You spread your arms wide, welcoming everyone in for a good squeeze. There's so many people. You can hack it. I'm sure. Let's do it. Co's were the first arms around you, although it didn't take long for everyone else to join in. You and Cove were squished into a giant hug of family and friends. Cove wiggled a little to embrace you tighter. He pressed his cheek against yours, still wet from his oncoming tears. Good luck, kiddos. You've got a journey ahead of you. Cliff agreed with a chuckle. They've known each other for 15 years already and still haven't gotten sick of each other yet. How hard could making it work for the rest of their lives be?
It's no trouble.
For the two of them, not difficult at all. You all better come around again for the actual wedding. You kidding me? I'll be the first one there. Liz snorted, then tried to ruffle her cousin's hair. Lee ducked out of the way. I'll be there even if you forget to send me an invitation. And you don't get to escape me that easy. Wait, is that your way of inviting us to your wedding? Cove glanced at you and shrugged. He didn't have a problem with it. It was efficient. Everyone here should be invited to the wedding anyway. Why am I surprised? Everyone started laughing to your satisfaction. It seemed like they had already started planning to be guests. With the hug complete, people once again spread out so everyone had breathing room. Thank you for playing the beta. This is where it ends now. More will be added soon. Well, that's the end of it. I just want to point out for a moment that so far it seems, I know I've seen some other YouTubers that I know of that have done past moments of this our life beginning and always different moments, and so far I haven't seen any other these guys or anybody else that I know of do the bonus moment or these two moments. Now I could probably understand maybe why they haven't done the two new moments, because I mean eventually they're going to come out with the step 4. They'll be connected with the step 4, so they're probably waiting for that. The only thing I could think of is maybe they didn't get the download for the bonus moment because they're not on the JB Patch's Patreon. They're not contributors on there, or maybe they are contributors, but they didn't see the thing on there where they can download the actual moment for the bonus moment. So, but it doesn't matter. I'm glad I get to do all this for you guys, record it for you, and put it on YouTube for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to say thank you for watching on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Also, if you can, please go to my Patreon and become a Patreon contributor. I really appreciate it, and it would show your appreciation as well. Show your appreciation as well for me doing all this for you guys. Again, all the money that goes into the Patreon goes directly to a worthy charity. I don't see a penny of it, honestly, and I don't need the money. Honestly, I don't need it. I mean, it's gonna go directly to charity. I don't see a penny of it, really. Also, again, to let you know, I'm only offering uncensored, the uncensored videos, like from the past, the bonus moment for our life, beginnings and always. There was an uncensored part there that I had recorded. So, if any of you out there had wanted a copy of that, you must be a contributor on my Patreon as a $25, the $25 tier contributor on my Patreon, and anybody who becomes a member on the Patreon of the $25 tier can receive a copy of any past uncensored videos, say from Camp Buddy or the recent Our Life Beginnings and Always bonus moment. If you'd like a copy of that, you can send, put in there your there should be a comment section in the Patreon page there, to where you could post your email address where I can send you a copy. Again, you must be a $25 tier contributor in order to receive a copy of any uncensored videos, which I think is fair, because I really do put a lot of time and effort to making these videos, so I think it's a fair deal, honestly. So in the meantime, I will see you guys later. I'm gonna get off here. See you guys later.